Greetings and peace. I would like to start this with Bismillahir-Rahmanir-Rahim, in the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Most Merciful. And Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Peace be with you and yours. This is a presentation I would like to do titled The Islamic Origins of Freemasonry. Those of you that have followed my channel, you know that this subject that I've covered, I've kind of did bit of an overkill, right? I've covered it extensively throughout the years in my videos, presentations, books, lectures given in lodges, outside of lodges, online. This is just another addition that I'm adding to my Islam, Sufism, and Freemasonry playlist. I hope you enjoy it. I represent myself only, and it's for entertainment and education purposes. Thank you. Another disclaimer is that this presentation or my other videos and books is not to inspire you to join Freemasonry. Rather, just take the teachings and apply them to your life. The esoteric and spiritual teachings that have nothing to do with the lodge or grand lodge social club system or the politics system. Modern lodge and grand lodge Freemasonry is filled with bigoted bastards, politics, egos, betrayal, and racism. You don't need it in today's world. Please check out my entire playlist on Islam, Sufism, and Freemasonry on my YouTube channel, Salman S. Sheikh. Thank you. I represent myself only under free speech and entertainment purposes. Now, starting with the intro, we tackle the Eurocentric myth on how the traditional narrative of Freemasonry places its origins firmly in 1717 London, where the four lodges united to form the Grand Lodge of England. This date has become a founding myth, enshrined in Masonic history and repeated widely. However, this linear historical framing ignores the deeper multicultural currents that flowed into Masonry's foundation. In particular, Islamic esoteric traditions, Sufism, and Ismaili structures predate 1717 and contributed substantially to the philosophical and organizational DNA of Freemasonry. This presentation challenges the Eurocentric limitation of Masonic history and reopens the questions of where Masonic knowledge really comes from. What is Freemasonry? Freemasonry is often described as a fraternal organization devoted to moral and philosophical self-improvement through allegory and ritual. Its lodges are communities of mutual learning, built on ideas of symbolism, initiation, and ethical enlightenment. Modern Freemasonry traces its formal beginning to 1717, but the tools it employs, ritual degrees, sacred geometry, moral codes, and the cryptic symbolism, indicate roots in far older systems of spiritual knowledge. Now, Sufism itself comes from Eastern origins in terms of how Islam is as a totality, because in our esoteric teachings, they tell us that Islam, or submission to the will of God, or submitting. So any path that's submitting to God is considered Islam, and you're a Muslim by definition. And in Holy Quran, Surah 2, verse 62, it does tell you that Allah doesn't care what specific religion you're following. It's about basically being an upright and righteous person. So the purpose of me saying this is that the white Western Mason never gives credit to the East in any way, right? They're always talking about, it was Neoplatonism and blah, blah, blah. But before that, you had the Persians, right? You had the philosophy in India of the Vedics known as the Samkhya, right? Which predates all Neoplatonism and all of that stuff. I mean, even if you look at the philosophers in Egypt, right? And how even George G.M. James, who was a Freemason himself, wrote the book Stolen Legacy on how Greek philosophy is stolen Egyptian philosophy. So they never give the East any credit. It's not just Islam, but they don't give the East in general any credit in their Masonic cons and their esoteric cons and all of the stuff that they do. It's the same speakers, it's the same faces, and they never talk about the things that need to be talked about. And I encourage all of the other brothers and like-minded friends out there that if you're not seeing the stuff that you want to see, just you have access to the mediums, right? YouTube, TikTok, write your books, make your podcast, and put it out there. And for me personally, I've resigned in good standing So I have more of a freedom now over my work and being able to express myself fully. But yeah, the systems, it's rooted in far older systems of spiritual knowledge, as we stated. Now, the 1717 narrative, right? We look at it as the institutional birth of Freemasonry, which occurred during a time of enlightenment, Protestant ascension, and political consolidation in Britain. Fraternal groups provided an alternative spiritual and social network as traditional church structures were weakened. But this context also contributed to a sanitized version of Masonic history, one that highlighted European rationalism and downplayed mystical or Eastern origins, which these guys are doing till this day. The Knights Templars were a part of that transmission, and the Knights Templars offer a key bridge between Islamic esoteric orders and modern Freemasonry. During the Crusades, the Templars encountered Sufi mystics, the Fatimid Ismailis, and other secretive Islamic sects. Many scholars argue that the Templars absorbed elements of Islamic initiation, architecture, and symbolism. After the Templars were dissolved in 1307, these ideas survived underground and eventually re-emerged in Masonic forms. Now, Sufism, Islam's mystical branch, focuses on the inward journey of the soul. Sufi orders practiced ritual initiation, spiritual mentorship, and symbolic progress through stages of enlightenment, mirroring the Masonic degrees. The Khanqahs, right, the Sufi lodges often functioned as spaces of brotherhood and sacred learning, similar in purpose to Masonic lodges. Concepts like the path, the veiling of knowledge, and the moral refinement of the self resonate strongly between the two traditions. Of course, the Ismailis are there as well. The Ismaili Dawa system, especially under the Fatimids, built one of the most sophisticated secret teaching hierarchies in Islamic history. Initiates passed through graded levels of symbolic knowledge under strict guidance. Their emphasis on hidden meanings, the batin, ta'wil, esoteric interpretation, and hierarchies of truth deeply influenced Sufi thought and indirectly Freemasonry. These systems were portable and durable, surviving Mongol invasions and European colonization, as even portrayed in the Assassin's Creed video games. Islamic art and architecture are visual embodiments of divine order. The use of geometric shapes, calligraphy, and spatial proportion are not merely aesthetic, they carry metaphysical weight. Masonic symbolism, from tracing boards to lodge floor patterns, echoes these Islamic principles. Both traditions regard geometry as sacred, a reflection of cosmic harmony. And you can even look up scholarly lectures on this, on how Islam saved architecture in Europe. And that's how a lot of these ideas were passed on to the stone builder guilds as well. Now, the Jewish Kabbalah, right, where a lot of these guys want to give credit to, it was developed under Islamic rule in Spain and was shaped by Islamic Neoplatonism. Concepts like the emanation of divine light, the unfolding of universal order, and the ascent of the soul are common to both Kabbalistic and Sufi cosmology. These metaphysical systems found their way into Masonic thought, particularly in Rosicrucian and Hermetic strands. And I've done a lecture on this with Sheikh Wahid Azal. If you go on the Sheikh Wahid Azal playlist on my channel, it's the second lecture that we did on the Islamic origins of Kabbalah. Freemasonry's reverence for Hiram Abiff, the legendary builder of Solomon's Temple, finds an echo in Quranic narratives about skilled, divinely guided artisans. Islamic lore reveres figures like Luqman and the builders of the Kaaba. The concept of a builder as a spiritual metaphor, one who constructs inner and outer realities, is central to both traditions. Both the Ismailis and Sufis practiced forms of secrecy, not simply for self-preservation but as a spiritual method. Knowledge was considered dangerous if misused, and initiation guarded the transmission of sacred truths. Taqiyya, or strategic concealment, in Islam, parallels the Masonic obligation of silence and symbolic secrecy. Both systems required inner purification before deeper truths could be entrusted. Masonic tracing boards, diagrams of moral and metaphysical lessons, contain suns, moons, all-seeing eyes, compasses, and steps. Similar motifs appear in Islamic talismanic chart, astrological manuscripts, and Fatimid esoteric diagrams. These are not coincidences but shared symbolic vocabularies reflecting a common cosmology. And even a hadith that was told by the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, tells us that the all-seeing eye, which one of the 99 names of Allah is Al-Basir, the all-seeing. So the all-seeing eye, the sun, and the moon are three signs of Allah, right? So Allah reveals himself, herself, right, genderless, formless, in these three identities. The all-seeing eye, the sun, and moon, which are often shown on Masonic tracing boards, and it's relative to the hadiths of the Prophet as well. Sufi lodges or tariqas often functioned with a sheikh at the top and disciples arranged in hierarchical ranks. Each level involved deeper commitment and understanding. This mirrors the Masonic ladder of degrees. Rituals of induction, oaths, and symbolic rebirth are also shared practices, showing the initiatic logic of both systems. As the Enlightenment rose and colonial powers redrew intellectual boundaries, Islamic contributions to mysticism, science, and art were systematically minimized. Freemasonry, rebranded as a modern European invention, distanced itself from its esoteric Islamic roots to align with Protestant rationalism. European appropriation and sanitization. Over time, Freemasonry incorporated Christian, Enlightenment, and nationalist ideals, which sanitized its mystic roots. Yet many of its rituals, symbols, and ideals still carry deep Eastern echoes. This Western repackaging often obscured the traditions it borrowed from, turning profound systems into allegorical formalities, very watered down and not really teaching you anything at the end. Now, as we look at the modern day scenario, I'm not the only one talking about this. Scholars are now revisiting Masonic origins with critical and comparative methodologies. With access to Arabic, Persian, and Ismaili archives, a new picture is emerging, one in which Islamic esotericism is not peripheral but foundational to the development of Masonic structure and philosophy. And you can look up college lectures, right? Scholarly level college lectures which are available online on how Islam brought Europe out of darkness with the Renaissance, how Islam saved its architecture, and so on and so forth. Now we look at the implications, right, that acknowledging Islamic roots does not invalidate Freemasonry's Western evolution. It enriches it. Recognizing its global heritage can strengthen Freemasonry's message of universal brotherhood and wisdom. It invites modern Masons to explore forgotten sources of their own tradition. Despite growing academic consensus, institutional Freemasonry remains hesitant to embrace non-European narratives. Internal conservatism, public perceptions, and fear of religious associations often block such integrations. Yet, the younger generations are more open to pluralism and historical accuracy. The future of Freemasonry may rest on its ability to reconnect with its full history. The inclusion of Islamic contributions is not revisionism, it's restoration. Global Freemasonry must reflect its global roots and serve as a bridge between traditions, not a wall between them. The way I see it, the Grand Lodge Freemasonry is going to be defunct or severely limited by the time we get to the mid-2030s. But the esoteric and spiritual and philosophical lessons are the ones that we need to apply to our lives. Here are some reference materials that I recommend. Of course, yours truly with my books and videos that are out there, and the other sources I recommend here, which I hope help you in your journey. Thank you for engaging with this exploration of Masonic origins. And let us continue seeking truth beyond boundaries and wisdom beyond borders. And again, please check out my entire playlist from 2019 up until now, my Islam, Sufism, Freemasonry playlist. Take your time to go through each lecture, and I hope it aids you and assists you in better understanding yourself and the world around you. Thank you, my friends, always for watching. If any questions or comments, please email me at salmansheikh911@gmail.com. And of course, all images and information and my videos and content, it's all for the purpose of fair use, education purposes, and for nonprofit and education purposes. Thank you all rights reserved.